Welcome to the HFY Tales channel. Remember to like and subscribe if you like the story. Enjoy and take care.
The alien city loomed ahead, its towering spires reaching toward a bruised sky streaked with twisted hues of violet and green. The architecture was alien and surreal, a mass of twisting structures that pulsated with bioluminescent light. This was not Earth. It was the heart of Tevelin Prime, a world where darkness fought tirelessly against the light of hope. In the center of the citadel, the execution square pulsated with tension. An array of alien spectators gathered, their eyes gleaming with cold anticipation. They were a motley assemblage, reptilian beings with scales that shimmered, avian creatures with elegant wings folded, and robust humanoids whose laughter unsettled the air. Each creature yearned for blood, an unsettling excitement sown from the public execution of Biplov, a daring young alien of the Ruathul clan accused of treason. Biplov stood in the center of the square, shackled and vulnerable. Her luminous azure skin glistened under the harsh artificial light, accentuating the sharp features of her face that hinted at both wisdom and fierce pride. Despite her dire circumstances, her spirit remained unbroken. Memories of running through lush green fields on her home planet surged through her mind. Thoughts of the loved ones she had failed to protect fueled her resolve. Her heart raced as the overseer, a grotesque figure adorned with layers of gold and black, approached. Raising his hand, he sent forth a silence, as if controlling the very air that surrounded her. "Biplov of the Ruathul, you are guilty of defying the will of the Senate," he proclaimed, his voice echoing through the square with chilling authority. "Your punishment for treason shall be your execution, a spectacle fitting for your kind." The crowd erupted into cheers, their excitement fueled by the bloodlust that had been instilled in them through years of indoctrination. Biplov felt the weight of multiple gazes upon her, each one telling the same story of torment and disdain. She inhaled deeply, steeling herself for what was about to come. But then, amid the chaos, she sensed a shift in the crowd. A tingle raced through her spine as she caught sight of a figure weaving through the throng. A human. Here on Tevelin Prime, humans had become a rare sight since the war began, often seen as traitors or lesser beings in the eyes of the aliens. Yet this human moved with purpose, eyes lit with fierce determination. This was Sandhya, a soldier of the fledgling human resistance. He had witnessed atrocities and had grown restless with the complacency of his people. Today, he could bear it no longer. As Biplov's doom approached, he rushed into the square, shouting out against the violence demanded by the overseer. The roar of the crowd faltered for a moment, confusion washing over the gathering as he created a ripple in the sea of predictability. "Stop," Sandhya bellowed. "This is madness. You cannot take her life under this unjust system." His voice was a catalyst, igniting whispers of hope among some spectators. Biplov's heart quickened, both in fear and unexpected excitement. Who was this human who dared to challenge the status quo? In that brief moment, as their eyes locked, something unexplainable sparked between them, an understanding that transcended the vast divide of their worlds. Sandhya was ready to fight, and in her moment of vulnerability, Biplov felt her spirit stir. Was there still hope? As the echo of Sandhya's voice resonated in the square, a ripple of confusion swept through the crowd. Some aliens turned their heads, puzzled by the audacity of this lone human standing against the tide of conformity. Biplov's heart raced, not only at the sight of Sandhya, but also at the thought that anyone, let alone a human, would dare to defy the Senate's decree. "Who do you think you are?" the overseer snarled, glaring at Sandhya with contempt. "A mere human challenging the will of the Senate? You will pay for your insolence." But Sandhya, undeterred, stepped forward, his resolve shining brighter than the fear that threatened to consume Biplov. "I won't let you kill her. She's done nothing wrong." His voice was steady, but the trembling in his hands betrayed the risk he was taking. The alien guards standing nearby shifted uneasily, their weapons poised but unsure. The overseer's lip curled into a sneer. "This is not your place, human. Stand down, or face execution beside her." Biplov feared for him, but felt a surge of admiration swell within her. This human embodied courage, willing to confront the oppressive regime that had held her people captive. "No," she shouted, her voice rising above the clamor. "Let him speak." For a moment, the crowd paused, the tension hanging thick in the air as disbelief pulsed among spectators. Would they support an outsider? Could the spark of rebellion ignite in the hearts of those conditioned to accept tyranny? Sandhya took advantage of the moment, his voice ringing clear. "She is an innocent. You claim to uphold justice, yet you execute the very essence of it. You fear her strength, her truth." Slowly, whispers started to spread through the crowd, a flicker of hope illuminating some faces. Biplav's heart raced as she saw the hesitation in the overseer's stance. This was the chance they needed. "Enough!" the overseer bellowed, rage spilling over. "Execute them both." In an instant, the guard surged forward, and the crowd erupted into chaos. Biplav and Sandhya locked eyes, an unspoken understanding passing between them. With a quick nod, they took off in unison, racing away from the dais, where doom had nearly claimed Biplav's life. They sprinted through the execution square, the cacophony of shouts and confusion blending into a wild symphony of survival. Biplav's skin glimmered as they sprinted past rows of stands filled with bewildered aliens. She could hear the distant, but growing sounds of guards issuing orders, calling for their capture. "Where do we go?" Sandhya shouted, darting left down a narrow alleyway. "Follow me," Biplav urged, her eyes scanning for a possible escape route. She led him through the labyrinth of shimmering alien architecture, her heart pounding with adrenaline and something else, an intoxicating sense of partnership. Danger blurred into camaraderie, solidifying their bond. As they navigated through the twisting alleys, desperate to avoid capture, Biplav glanced over her shoulder. The guards were closing in, their harsh shouts piercing the air, but they remained just out of reach. "Up ahead!" she shouted, pointing toward an archway leading to a secluded rooftop. They leaped onto the nearest ledge, vaulting themselves up, and with a quick glance below, they could see the guards slip past, still searching for their quarry. As they landed on the rooftop, Sandhya breathed heavily, his chest rising and falling in rhythm with the thrill of their escape. "That was close," he panted, a mix of exhilaration and fear flooding his features. Biplav turned to face him, adrenaline coursing through her veins. "You shouldn't have come for me. You could have been killed." "Neither of us wanted that," he replied, a soft smile breaking through the tension. "You deserve to live, Biplav. I couldn't just stand by and watch them execute you. We can't let them get away with this." In that moment, amidst the chaos, something profound shifted between them. Biplav felt a warmth kindling in her chest, a connection that transcended their different worlds. You're willing to risk everything for me. Why?" The question spilled from her lips, laced with wonder. "Because it's right," Sandhya replied simply, but the sincerity in his eyes conveyed so much more. "You're more than a prisoner. You're a symbol of hope for a world that's been dark for too long. Together, we can fight for what's right." Before she could respond, a shimmering cascade of lights rippled across the sky, signaling their impending doom as sirens wailed in the distance. "We must move," Biplav urged, her instincts kicking into gear. She led the way across the rooftops, her heart buoyed by the rhythm of their feet striking the metallic surfaces beneath them. As they jumped from building to building, Biplav could feel Sandhya behind her, steadfast and ready to face anything that came their way. "Where do we go from here?" he called out, his voice slightly breathless. "There's a safe haven," she said, recalling the hidden base of the Ruathul resistance hidden within the depths of the Lumina forest, on the outskirts of the city. It was a chance, a flicker of hope. "We need to get there before they catch up to us." They leaped down from the final rooftop and landed softly on the ground, the forest canopy barely visible ahead. "This way," Biplav urged, grabbing Sandhya's hand, and together they dashed toward the trees as the sound of pursuit faded. The scent of lush flora enveloped them as they entered the forest, the world around them alive with the sounds of chirping creatures and rustling leaves. They pushed past the trunks, weaving through nature's embrace in desperate haste. "Do you think we lost them?" Sandhya gasped between breaths, glancing back cautiously. "For now," Biplav replied, determination igniting her features. "The forest conceals many secrets, but it also holds great danger. We must keep moving." the fear of capture replaced with piercing purpose as they danced through the wild foliage. Suddenly, Biplov stumbled, nearly losing her balance as her footing faltered. Sandhya immediately caught her arm, steadying her. Their eyes locked once more, and in that fleeting moment, a shared awareness stirred, the tension shifting, an undeniable connection igniting between them. "Thank you," she breathed, feeling a rush of warmth at their closeness. "Stay close to me," he urged, his voice a reassuring anchor in the chaos of their flight. Biplov nodded, trusting the human beside her. United against the threat, they ventured deeper into the forest, where the barriers between their worlds began to blur and the prospect of a new future began to take shape. The dense canopy of the Lumina forest enveloped Biplov and Sandhya, its shadows providing concealment as they pressed forward. Sunlight filtered through the leaves, splashing the ground with dappled illumination, but the beauty of their surroundings was a stark contrast to the danger lurking just beyond. As they navigated through the underbrush, Biplov could feel her heart pounding in rhythm with their footsteps. Everything around them buzzed with life, yet an ominous tension lingered in her thoughts. They barely had a moment to breathe before the sound of rustling branches sounded behind them. Someone was pursuing them. "Keep moving," Sandhya urged, his grip tightening around her hand as he quickened his pace. The urgency in his voice spurred her forward, but doubts gnawed at her thoughts. What if they were caught? They would face unimaginable punishment. Each step took them deeper into the heart of the forest until they stumbled upon a clearing, marked by the remnants of what once may have been an ancient stone structure, crumbled and entwined with thriving vines. The remnants whispered secrets of a time long past. "Is this?" Sandhya began, looking around the clearing, his voice filled with a sense of reverence. "My clan's sanctuary," Biplov replied, her breath hitching. "We used to gather here before the Senate imposed their laws upon us. If we can reach the inner chamber, we may find protection." Just as they stepped into the ruins of the sanctuary, the underbrush behind them rustled violently, and a group of alien guards burst through the foliage, armed and determined. "There they are!" one of the guards yelled, his voice cutting through the air like a jagged knife. "Don't let them escape." Panic surged through Biplov as she looked at Sandhya. "We can't let them take us." "Follow my lead," Sandhya shouted, and without waiting for a response, he surged forward, pushing ahead toward the sanctuary's inner chamber. With newfound determination, Biplov followed, adrenaline fueling her every movement. They darted inside the crumbling structure, desperately seeking a hiding place within the shadows. Biplov's heart raced, the danger intensifying as they navigated through the dim corridor ensconced in shadow and despair. "Over here." Sandhya pointed to a large storeroom lined with what remnants of her people's possessions lay untouched. She moved quickly behind some crates, aware that time was not on their side. They could hear the guards crashing through the clearing outside, barking orders to one another as they searched for them. "This is it. We must stay quiet," Sandhya whispered, his breath warm against her ear as they huddled together amongst the debris. Biplov could hardly believe that they had come so far. As they crouched together, her heart began to steady. Sandhya's presence offered a peace she had never expected to find in such a tumultuous moment. The connection they shared felt electric, as if the very forces that had brought them together were not merely born from circumstance, but from a deeper purpose. "I didn't think I would ever face death like this," she murmured, eyeing the doorway anxiously. "And yet here we are." "Not yet," Sandhya replied, his eyes brightening. "We're still alive, and as long as we are, we can fight. Together." Just then, the door slammed open with a deafening crash, and the guards swarmed into the storeroom. Biplov froze, her breath caught in her throat as she watched them comb through her sanctuary, weapons poised. "There's nowhere to hide," one guard taunted, his voice echoing cruelly. "We can't stay here," Sandhya whispered urgently, his eyes flickering with resolve. "We need another way out." "Follow me," Biplov urged, finding her footing amidst the chaos. She led them toward an exit at the back of the storeroom, an ancient tunnel that had been forgotten over the years. As they sprinted down the narrow passageway, the echoes of shouts and footsteps grew distant. The air was damp and cool, a stark contrast to the tension that simmered just outside. They pressed on, fear mingling with hope as they navigated the twisting corridor. "We must find a way to turn this around," Sandhya said, glancing at her as they ran. "We can't let them keep terrorizing your people. We have to unite and stand against the Senate." Biplav felt a surge of gratitude wash over her at Sandhya's unwavering courage. "You're risking everything for me. Thank you." "It's not just for you. It's for everyone," he replied, a fierce determination igniting his gaze. "No more oppression, no more fear. Together, we can change everything." Suddenly, they came to an opening in the tunnel. It led to a hidden glade bathed in moonlight, flanked by towering trees. The deep tranquility of the space offered a moment of respite, and as they emerged, the cool night air filled their lungs. But before they could catch their breath, a familiar voice cut through the night. "There you are." The overseer loomed before them, flanked by a pair of guards ready to pounce. "No," Biplav cried out, stepping protectively in front of Sandhya. "Running away will only prolong your suffering, Biplav. This is where it ends." The overseer sneered, relishing the moment. "No, it won't end here." Sandhya shouted, standing beside Biplav. "You're not taking her away." With a fierce roar, the overseer signaled his guards to advance. A battle began, chaos erupting as Sandhya and Biplav fought side by side. Using her agility, Biplav dodged the swings of a guard's weapon, retaliating with a burst of energy that lit her hands like blue flames, her alien abilities revealing themselves in a spectacular display. Sandhya parried another guard's attack with a piece of rubble, his streetwise combat skills blending with Biplav's unique talents. "Stay close," Biplav urged amidst the turbulent clash. The guards could not contain the surprise of encountering her power, and with each move, she felt the strength burgeon within her. Together they fought, not just for survival, but for the dreams of a future free from oppression. The tide turned as they combined their strengths. Biplav unleashed energetic blasts, stunning the foes, while Sandhya's swift movements and tactical prowess kept them on the offensive. With a final surge of energy, Biplav pushed the overseer backward, sending him crashing against a tree trunk. He groaned, momentarily stunned. "Run!" Sandhya shouted at Biplav, his expression fierce with determination. They didn't look back as they sprinted deeper into the glade, adrenaline fueling their escape. As they dove into the thickness of the forest, the sounds of the battle faded behind them, their hearts still racing, their breaths mingling with exhilaration and the sweet taste of victory. They finally stumbled into a small clearing, panting and overwhelmed. The moon painted silver patterns across their faces as they leaned against a tree to catch their breath. You did it," Biplav gasped, her eyes shining with disbelief. "You fought with me." "I wouldn't want to do it with anyone else," Sandhya replied, a beat between them charged with electricity. In that silence, the weight of their shared experience began to anchor their fates together. Biplav could feel a warmth blooming inside her, a bond forged in the fires of danger and courage. "We have to go back. We need to rally my people," Biplav finally said, her voice steady. "Yes," Sandhya nodded, determination radiating from him. "And with the strength of humans and aliens united, we'll bring the Senate down." With renewed purpose and a connection that defied their differences, they set out, determined to fight for their futures and the dream of peace, a dream worth dying for. The moon hung high in the twilight sky, casting a silvery glow on the landscape as Biplav and Sandhya hurried through the lumina forest, their hearts pounding but their spirits emboldened. Each step they took felt filled with purpose. More than an escape, they were on a mission to ignite change. After what felt like an eternity of running, they finally reached the outskirts of a sanctuary, hidden behind a thicket of trees. "This is it," Biplav breathed, her voice barely a whisper. She gestured toward the entrance, a narrow opening framed with ancient stones covered in moss. "The Ruathul gathering place," she said, her eyes shining with hope. "If anyone can help us, it's here." As they stepped inside, a flicker of torches illuminated the walls, revealing markings and carvings that told the stories of her people's victories and struggles throughout generations. The atmosphere felt thick with history as whispers echoed through the winding corridors, reminiscent of camaraderie and rebellion. Biplav, you're alive. A familiar voice called from the shadows. A figure emerged, cloaked in dim light. Mira, her childhood friend, and a trusted member of the Ruethul Council. Relief washed over Biplav as they rushed into an embrace. I thought we had lost you, Mira exclaimed, pulling back to survey Biplav and Sandhya, noting their disheveled state. And who is this? This is Sandhya, Biplav introduced, a proud glimmer in her eyes. He risked his life to save me from execution. Myra's gaze softened, recognizing the depth of sacrifice that united them. Thank you, Sandhya. Your courage is commendable. We need allies now more than ever. As they exchanged introductions and ideas, a few other members of the resistance joined them, drawn to the sanctuary by the whispers of Biplav's return. They were a diverse group, each bringing their unique strengths. Among them was Ral, a fierce warrior with a reputation for bravery, and Oren, a skilled strategist, whose gray hair belied a sharp mind. We've been waiting for your return, Ral said, clasping Biplav's shoulder. With you leading us, we have hope. Biplav felt a swell of responsibility. We need to take action, gather everyone who opposes the Senate. Sandhya and I have witnessed their cruelty firsthand. Together, we can rally our forces. We'll need a plan, Oren interjected, his voice commanding their attention. The Senate's grip on the people is strong. They've instilled fear to maintain control. But fear can be countered with unity. Our strength lies in numbers. A murmur of agreement rose among the gathered resistance members, the flame of rebellion flickering to life within their hearts. Sandhya stepped forward, passion sparking in his eyes. We can show the people that they are not alone, that they have the power to stand against oppression. It will require courage from every corner, humans and aliens alike. That's right, Biplav added, feeling invigorated by his confidence. Together, we can lead this resistance to restore balance. The Senate must know that their tyranny will no longer be tolerated. As plans began to take shape, the room filled with ideas and strategies. Hours passed unnoticed as they delved into discussions, and Biplav reveled in the camaraderie. With every passing moment, she felt more connected to Sandhya, not just as allies, but as something more profound. The chemistry between them deepened, a connection born of shared struggle and genuine trust. In a quiet moment, as the others debated nearby, Biplav found herself standing beside Sandhya, their shoulders brushing against each other. She turned to him, studying his rugged features, the fire in his eyes, and something stirred within her. "Thank you for coming for me," she said softly, the sincerity flowing from her heart. "I'm not sure I would be here if it weren't for you." Sandhya met her gaze, his expression reflecting her sentiments. "You gave me hope when I felt lost. I couldn't just walk away and do nothing. And now that we're here, we have each other's back." Biplav nodded, her heart racing. "I feel like we're destined to fight this battle together." He paused, his next words heavy with meaning. "It's more than that, Biplav. I didn't just come to save you. I came to share this fight and build a new future with you." The warmth in her chest blossomed at his words, and in that moment of vulnerability, she felt a magnetic pull to him. Tentatively, she took a step closer, their breaths mingling under the flickering torchlight. "I feel the same way, Sandhya. This bond we share, it's unlike anything I've ever experienced." Before they could process the gravity of their feelings, a voice broke through the moment. "We need to finalize our plan." Oren's voice called, pulling them back to the present. Stepping apart, they turned their focus back to the gathered resistance, but an unspoken understanding had passed between them, a promise that when the battle was won, they would explore the depths of this connection. As night turned into dawn, the sanctuary buzzed with energy. The seeds of a rebellion were being sown. They vowed to unite their peoples and combat the oppressive regime. Together, they plotted their next moves, preparing for the confrontation that would shift the tide. Biplav felt a renewed sense of purpose. Not only was she fighting for her clan and the freedom of her people, but now she was fighting for the bond she had formed with Sandhya. The memory of running toward death transformed into a renewed journey toward hope and unity. The echoes of the past would guide them, and with each step forward, Their voices would inspire others to rise. The sun would soon greet the horizon, marking a new beginning for all as Biplav and Sandhya prepared to stand together for a cause greater than themselves. The sun rose over the horizon, casting warm hues across the Lumina forest and illuminating the sanctuary where Biplav and Sandhya had rallied the resistance. With renewed spirits and unwavering hearts, they spent the morning preparing for the impending confrontation against the Senate. As the council convened, the energy in the air was electric. The gathered members echoed with determination, their voices a chorus of hope. Biplav stood at the forefront, flanked by Sandhya, Mira, Ral, Oren, and others who were willing to fight for their shared vision. The Senate has ruled through fear for too long, Biplav began, her voice rising above the murmurs. It is now time to stand united against tyranny. Today, we fight not just for our freedom, but for the bond we share, human and alien alike. Cheers erupted through the crowd, pulsating with anticipation. Their resolve solidified in that moment, and Biplav could feel the weight of purpose pressing against her. Together, they would challenge the oppressive regime that had held their worlds captive. As they prepared for battle, Sandhya leaned close to her, his expression earnest. Remember, this isn't just about us. This is for everyone who has suffered under their rule. Biplav nodded, her heart swelling with pride. Together, we will show them the strength of our alliance. Our love will be the spark that ignites the fear that has subdued our people. With a determined heart and fierce passion, they set out toward the Senate stronghold, a towering fortress that loomed at the heart of Tevelin Prime, cloaked in darkness and guarded by loyalists. As the resistance pushed forward, a palpable fear filled the air, but with each step, Biplav felt emboldened by the collective strength of those around them. As they drew closer to the fortress, Biplav instilled courage in her comrades. Stay focused. We are stronger together. On my signal, we break through. The stronger branches of the resistance flanked them, their weapons glistening in the dawn light. As they reached the stronghold's entrance, they paused and took a breath, united in purpose. Now, Biplav shouted, and they charged forward, a wave of defiance crashing against the structured defenses of the Senate. Battle erupted, shouts and clashing weapons filling the air as the resistance fighters pushed into the stronghold. Biplav fought alongside Sandhya, their bond illuminating the chaos surrounding them. They moved seamlessly, their instincts guiding them as they faced off against the Senate's guards. Together, Biplav. Sandhya shouted as they fought side by side, his movements matching hers, a synchronization born from their shared experiences and training. They were relentless, pushing past each group of guards that stood in their way. Biplav unleashed her energy, stunning those who dared to approach, while Sandhya's tactical skills turned the tide of battle, guiding their allies into advantageous positions. As they fought deeper into the fortress, they finally reached the Senate chamber, a grand hall filled with high-ranking officials, their faces contorted in fear and anger. The atmosphere was charged with tension as the resistance stormed in. "This is a rebellion," one of the senators screeched, rising from his seat. "You think you can defy us?" Biplav stepped forward, eyes ablaze with determination. "You have ruled through fear for too long. We stand together to reclaim our rights and our lives. It's time for justice." The room filled with a mixture of fear and confusion. The senators looked at one another, debating their next move as panic crept into their ranks. Sandhya stood beside Biplav, steady and unwavering, representing the united front of humans and aliens. "The people have awakened," Sandhya shouted, his voice strong and clear. "Your tyranny ends today. We will not back down." A wave of cheers erupted from the resistance members assembled behind them, the sound echoing through the chamber, a proclamation of unity that resonated deeply within the hearts of those who had endured suffering. In a fit of rage, one of the senators lunged forward, attempting to wield power over the crowd. "You think this alliance will save you? We have the might of our forces." Biplav felt the heat rising within her as she stepped forward defiantly, her energy building. "You may have power, but we have something you can never control, our will to fight, and the truth that unites us. Today, we claim our destiny." With that declaration, she unleashed a wave of energy, a brilliant flash that surged across the room, enveloping both allies and opponents alike. It was a manifestation of hope, resilience, and love, the very essence of their union, of all they were fighting for. In that moment of brilliance, the senators were left disoriented, their fear laid bare. The resistance surged forward, emboldened by the display of unity and strength. It was now or never, and there was no turning back. The final confrontation unfolded within the chamber, and Biplav and Sandhya fought valiantly at the forefront. Each strike was fueled not just by their anger, but by the power of their combined spirits. They embodied the solidarity forged between their peoples, a representation of a future where alien and human would stand side by side. As the last of the senators fell, silence overtook the chamber. The resistance members looked around, panting, bewildered by their success. Biplav and Sandhya stood together at the center, the remnants of their battle hanging in the air. "We did it," Sandhya whispered, disbelief mingling with awe in his voice. Biplav turned to him, a smile breaking across her face, tears glistening in her eyes. Together, they had carved their place in history, signaling the dawn of a new era. The people would rise from oppression, their voices loud and proud. Their differences would no longer be dividing lines, but a tapestry of strength and unity. As they emerged from the stronghold, the sun lit the horizon, casting away the shadows of tyranny. Biplav and Sandhya held hands, stepping forward into a future ripe with possibility, mating of their cultures poised to reshape their worlds. They had not only fought for the freedom of their peoples, but forged a bond that transcended perception, a love that would blossom amid the chaos. Together at last, they began to weave a new story of hope, resilience, and the power of unity. And so, the rebellion became a testament to the strength that lay within their hearts, igniting a future where all could thrive, a tale of love and defiance that would echo throughout the cosmos for generations to come.